Let's go, family. What day is it? Happy Thanksgiving. After Thanksgiving, of course. Let's get straight to it, though. Come on.
How's it going, everybody? My name is Jack Posey.
Ahmad Shaw.
Brandon.
Oh, hold on. Say it. We got a special guest today. Who is it? Who is it?
How's it going?
Introduce yourself. Who is this?
Huh?
Introduce yourself. Come on, tell the people.
So I'm Brandon Stern. I just graduated from Penn State. I was a member of the lacrosse team for 5 years. I'm currently at my parents' house outside Philadelphia, but just excited to be here with the boys, share my story.
Let's go. Let's go. Like I said, this is the accountability call. That's Brandon Stern. That's Ahmad Shah, and I'm Jack Posey. So we have a real special episode for you guys today. Like I said, we have our special guest, my teammate, one of the best teammates I've ever had, Sterny. And we have a special episode, the first ever of the series. He's our first special guest. And we can't wait to dive into our conversation today about overcoming adversity. But before we get started, let's do – Brandon already introduced himself. Ahmad, tell the people who you are.
Ahmad Shaw, sophomore engineering major at St. Vincent College, currently in my house. If you haven't noticed, we're on break now. So at my house, I am a prefect in the freshman dorms, aka an RA. So watch over 17 to 18 guys at a time. I play football. I'm a corner. That's about it.
Awesome. And I'm Jack Posey. I'm a sophomore at Penn State, Sterny's teammate. But I'm a defenseman. I'm going to be a finance major, and I'm home as well. And before we get going, since yesterday was Thanksgiving, Stern, what's your favorite Thanksgiving side dish, meal, whatever? What's your go-to?
You're putting me on the spot here. I really like. So my mom made this new stuffing. It was phenomenal, and we also had this little treat. It was like a sweet potato with some cinnamon, chocolate, marshmallow kind of thing. It was like a mixture of a dessert and dinner. So those are probably my two favorite dishes and two favorite food items that I had on my plate last night.
Let's go. Ahmad, aren't you you're making some sweet potato pie soon too, aren't you?
Yeah. So yesterday was Thanksgiving. My mom didn't want to make sweet potato pie because we had to leave kind of early. My aunt wanted dinner at 1 for some reason. I don't know, but we showed up at 1:30. Nobody was eating. So we showed up at 1:30. My mom wanted to make sweet potato pies before, but we didn't have enough time. So that's actually what I'm going to do today. I'm going to make some sweet potato pie, and we're just going to get straight to it. That's my favorite kind of Thanksgiving dessert, if you would say.
Let's go. Yeah, I have to agree with you, Stern. I'm a big stuffing guy. We had sausage and all that kind of stuff in it. I helped make it. Man, it was unreal. But I'm a big stuffing guy.
Yes, sir.
So real quick, I'm going to give a little bit of an intro to Stern. He was a fifth year when I was a freshman this past year. And, he was one of my best friends on the team, one of the best teammates. I'll tell you guys a little story in a minute. But he was somebody who was always there, somebody who was always supportive and just a true leader on the team. And to show you or to tell you kind of like who or what kind of guy Brandon is, back freshman year when, I was learning the ropes of everything, we do conditioning like every Friday in the fall. And I'll just tell you, my freshman year, conditioning and I did not get along. But something that Stern did to make sure I got through it was every time we hit the line and our coach would blow the whistle and make us do this conditioning, he'd find himself, he'd be like, Posey, where you at? Like, Posey, get over here. And he'd run right next to me and made sure I got through the line every single time. So no matter what, no matter how tired he was, no matter how tired I was, he was always yelling at me. Like, we'd be running halfway through the sprint and I'd be a little bit behind. He'd be like, Posey, let's go. You got to catch up.
Little do people know I just didn't want to be the slowest, so I had to put the slowest guy next to me.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding. I'm just messing. I had to throw that in.
No. If it weren't for him, I don't know if I would have made it, to be honest, completely. But we changed that up a little bit. Had to attack the conditioning this summer. Ahmad and I were getting after it. So came back a little bit different my freshman year. Stern, if we were running together, I might be the one who was pulling you with me now. But
yeah, we'll see. Well, that weekend we'll test that out.
Oh yeah, let's go. But no, he is a great teammate, someone I look up to, and I'm really excited for all of you to get to know him a little bit. hear about his story because I think he's gone through a lot of adversity. He came out on the other end a better teammate, a better man, a better person. And I'm really excited for all you guys to hear his story and learn something from him to help you grow. I know it's going to help Ahmad and I grow because I've already seen it and it's helped me. So I'm really looking forward to diving in and having our first episode with our first ever special guest. So without further ado.
Whoa.
What's up?
The people, they got to get their notepads ready. Y'all got to be ready to write some gems down. Trust me, I'm ready. I'm ready to go. So let's do it.
I got to get my notebook. I have my phone here. I'll just take notes on my phone whenever you guys talk.
Let's do it.
There we go. If you don't have it out, either if you're on your laptop, get your phone out, get your notes. If you're not on your laptop and you're on your phone, grab one of these things, and write some stuff down because today we're dropping a lot of gems, like Ahmad said, a lot of cool things that'll help you guys. Because I know my man Sterny, he has a lot of great stuff. So Tune in. We'll be going about a little bit longer than our normal episode, around 30 to 45 minutes. So sit back, relax, grab that pen, grab that paper, and let's get going.
Let's go. Let's do it.
Well, it's an honor, guys. Thank you for having me on here.
Big time, for sure.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
So going into it, let's kind of start off with who is Brandon Stern? Tell people a little bit about your story. You've been through a good amount, especially in college. Say whatever you want, but tell people kind of who you are and what your story is.
Yeah. So, how's it going? I'm Brandon Stern. So I'm actually from Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Big town outside Philadelphia on the New Jersey side. I went to Cherry Hill East High School, where I played football and lacrosse. And I didn't start lacrosse till at a young age, or actually later time than most kids. I started in middle school, where most kids are probably starting in elementary school. So I guess I realized I wanted to play college lacrosse, I guess, a little bit later than most kids. So I played summer ball, and I actually committed in summer going into my junior year. So let's fast forward to school, to the time I stepped foot on Penn State. I was telling these guys, I didn't come from a lacrosse town, a big lacrosse background where, like most kids, where they're going to private schools playing with kids that are also playing at big time levels. And I was actually the first kid or second kid from high school to be able to go out and play Division I college lacrosse. So that was a pretty cool accomplishment. But at the same time, it was a little bit daunting of a task, stepping foot, playing against guys who have been playing at such a high level for such a long time. And this is kind of my first time being around so many good players all at once. So I would say like that uphill battle was tough. I mean, learning how to just go out and compete at a level that is just, I compared practice in college to a game in high school. Like that's how I would describe it, going day in and day out, having to prepare like you're playing in a game. So that was really, it was a good challenge for me. And, but it was definitely tough. I mean, at the end of my first semester, I was definitely one of the bottom offensive midfielders on the depth chart. And that was definitely something tough to wrap my head around. It's like, all right, I'm going to have to actually really work at this. And it's not just going to be like, I can walk on the field and just be the best athlete. That's not just how it works in college. So understanding that you're going to have to put in some work, you're going to have to put in that extra time to be able to find your way onto a field. And you just got to do everything you can, whether that be going to the coach's office and watch some extra film, do some extra footwork like Posey and I did. We would do extra footwork once or twice a week. And that's just something that just became routine. So that was something I started at a pretty young age. I think that also helped me develop into help develop my work ethic that I have now. So I'm going to go to second semester of my freshman year. I remember I was able to find my way onto the field by becoming a defensive midfielder. And that was just being a good athlete. You didn't have to be the best lacrosse player in the field. You just had to be the best athlete, have the mentality to be like, what's up?
Real quick. Keep going, but also tell people a little bit about that transition between being like you're going in as an offensive midfielder and you get switched over to a different position. How was that transition also?
That was a fun transition just because it was something different. Having done the same thing the entire semester and still having it be that being such a challenge, is like, all right, a different perspective might help, might give me a little more of a drive, I would say. So switching to something new, being on the defense side of the ball was, I think, exciting because it's almost like a fresh start. So I was around different guys. Like when you're on the offense side of the ball, you're mainly around the offensive guys. You're not the only time you're with the defensive guys when you go against each other. But in the fall, you're not doing a lot of combative stuff. It's more of like developing those skills and and doing all that fun stuff, just working with Coach Ambroni, who was just the offensive coach. I didn't really work with Coach Toner much. So once I stepped foot on the defensive side of the ball, I'm with a whole different group of guys and training with these guys and with Coach Toner, who's a totally different coach than Coach Ambroni in a good way, though not in a bad way. But it was almost like a fresh start for me. So that was something that was really exciting. I kind of went in with a whole different perspective, a clearer mind. And all he told me was like, just go be the best athlete. Don't overthink this. Just don't let the guy in front of you beat you. And now to me, that was just simple. It was like, all right, now it's bringing back to my football days. And that's what I loved about football. It was like mano y mano.
Yeah.
So to me, it kind of was refreshing. It was a new start, something I could totally immerse myself in. So I remember I would go to Coach Toner's office and we'd watch film all the time. We had 2 seniors who were in my position. I remember just asking them so many questions. They totally took me under their wing, which was really nice of them, and kind of just showed me what it meant to just be a good teammate too. I mean, being a senior, being a 5th year, I noticed a bunch of kids when they came to the defense side of the ball for the first time. I tried to do the same thing, provide that little guidance. Even guys like Posey who've been playing defense their entire lives. Like I tried to share as much wisdom or much technical knowledge of the defense as much as I can with them. So that was something that I learned at a young age, what it means to be a good teammate. So I'll bring you back to the story. I played, getting switched over to the defense side of the ball, I actually was able to play a little bit more than I expected. And I played in almost every game as a second line defensive midfielder, and it was great. That's all you can really ask for as a freshman, just to provide some type of impact at such an early time of your college career. So then I'm gonna fast forward to the next year. I was competing for a starting role now, not just a second line midfielder, rather a first line midfielder. And that was something that drove me all summer to work out hard. I remember I was waking up every morning at 5, 6 o'clock, doing footwork, doing conditioning, doing lifting, anything I can do to just kind of get better. And I was like super prepared. I was like in the best shape of my life. I'd worked so hard knowing that this was going to be a true opportunity for me to like earn a starting role in a big time Division I lacrosse team. I was like, it's a dream, and you couldn't ask for anything else, just have an opportunity or shot to be able to do that. So going into our fall ball scrimmage, which in college lacrosse, you have 1 or 2 fall ball scrimmages against 1 or 2 different teams. And that's like your only opportunity in the fall to really showcase yourself against another opponent. So we played Towson, and in the first 2 minutes, I played and I actually let up a goal, but that's neither here nor there. In the first 2 minutes of the scrimmage, though, I went to go pick up a ground ball on the sideline, and I remember one of the guys on Towson was riding me out of bounds, and I took a wrong step, and my knee popped, and I was like, whatever. Like my brother's knee popped, he tore his ACL, but he couldn't walk in it. Like I was at least able to jog off the field. So lo and behold, I actually did tear my ACL and tore my meniscus on top of that. So that was a super tough pill to swallow. Knowing how hard I worked, knowing the position I was in, and then having that kind of just taken away from me like that was definitely really was hard to kind of wrap my head around. So that whole year, I battled some stuff both mentally and physically, just trying to figure out if I could be able to play again. And there's always that stigma with ACLs, like some majority of the time you don't come back the same player. So that was always something that was in the back of my head. But at the same time, I had to do everything I can to put myself in the opportunity to be the player that I was prior to my injury. So that was the physical side of things. The mental side of things is a totally different bowl of wax, is what I always say. You don't prepare yourself. It's hard to prepare for that mental side. Like you've never been put in that position before. To be away from the team or to have something taken away from you, it's tough to kind of to continue and going along with and continue that drive of trying to come back healthy again. So I would say the hardest thing, that first chapter of that injury, was battling the mental side of things and trying to just stay positive all the time and understanding that what you're going through and how you're feeling is totally normal. But when you're 19 years old, you don't want to talk about that stuff to other people. You don't want to show like a weakness, quote unquote, to kids that you're like competing with every day, you're hanging out with every day. Like you just don't want to show that. So I didn't really mention it to anybody, and I kind of battled that stuff myself. And I talked to my parents about it, but they were really the only people that understood what I was going through. And it wasn't until kind of right when I was coming back from my injury that I shared it with a couple of my friends, and they said like, "Oh, why didn't you tell us? Like we would have loved to have been there more for you if you were going through that." And I was like, "Yeah, like I'm good now. Like I'm healthy. I was able to get through it. Like I had that goal of like trying to come back and play, and that was what was like driving me. So fast forward, I was about 11 months post surgery. I just got cleared full contact, and I was as high as I can be. Like, I was so happy. I was able to play again. I had worked so hard to come back. Everyone was like, all my teammates are so proud. And it was that was a great feeling, knowing that I accomplished my goal of come back and be able to play Division I lacrosse again. So the second day I got cleared, we had one-on-ones. I was going against one of the attackmen. I was like, all right, got to get my drive back, got to get my technical skill set back. My footwork's got to be better. So I'm working on all this stuff in the background, but I'm like, I have a chance to show this off now. Can show off my hard work on film and against the guys. And I'm playing great defense. We're going one-on-one with one of the guys, and I hit him. And I'm like, as I hit him, as I hop over him, I pop my other knee. And I'm like, this doesn't feel like my ACL. It felt fine, whatever. I just like hyperextended it. So as everyone can imagine, lo and behold, I did tear my ACL again, but that was my other knee. So I had now torn both my ACLs. And that was a tough one. Just not even the fact that it hurt or it's just knowing that I had worked so hard, just to get back to the same position and have it taken away from me again. But I will say it has taught me a ton. One thing, and it's going to sound cliche, but not to look at the outcome, but rather the process of getting there, just understanding and working for it. Like, I couldn't go into this second ACL recovery with the same attitude I went in with the first one. The first one I went to is like, all right, all I got to worry about is trying to get back to the player I was. All I got to worry about is the outcome, as opposed to waking up and be like, all right, now I got a process. I have to figure out how to go through this process and learn from this process of trying to just get better every single day. Now it's not about becoming an athlete, the best athlete I could be, but rather becoming the best version of myself every single day, going into rehab with a positive attitude, not just an attitude. It's like, all right, I have to just get through this, and when I get through this, I'm one step closer to recovery. No, it's got to be, I'm going to go in this with the best attitude, work as hard as I can, and whatever I can do, whether that is just to like walk again. I mean, people who torn the ACL, it's a lot of the first month is just being able to put some pressure on your leg. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this as best I can. I'm going to be the best walker on campus. I'm going to walk heel to toe every time I walk. And I know it sounds so tedious and minuscule and like, just like weird, like you got to be able to walk in, but that's how it was. Like, I went in with that attitude, and when I went in with that attitude, it made it so much easier, my recovery. Again, it wasn't like I was just looking, all right, now I'm not looking at the 10 months from now and I'm going to be the best athlete, but I'm looking at what can I do now to be the best version of myself. So that process is humbling in that it forces you to make small goals. And this was something I was mentioning to you guys earlier, but I would make those small goals. Like with ACLs, you got to be able to get a certain degrees in the first couple of months. So I was like, my goal this week was to get to 100 degrees. My next goal was to get to 90 degrees. And it was just to keep reaching those goals. And it was little battles that I would win that would just start building my optimism, start building that drive again. So that was something I really learned. Yeah. Small victories. Those are
big time.
Yeah. And then I'll shorten this up, the ending of it. I was able to come back and play again. Not nearly to the same level that I was prior to my injuries. And that's not a definite thing. That was just my experience. I had gone through it, and it is what it is, but I was able to just come back and play again. To me, that was enough. Just showing that I wasn't going to let these injuries make me quit, or they weren't going to get the best of me, that I was going to be able to I had a goal in mind, and I reached those goals every day and every month and every week. And yeah, it was really nice and really humbling. And I'm super proud of the way I was able to overcome that.
That's an awesome story. I mean, what a lot of people may think to be, oh, you got hurt. Sure, you came back, but like you say, it wasn't to your best ability what it was before. Like, some people might think, well, that's not like the perfect ending or something like that. But there's a lot to be said about the way you responded to it and the way you kind of fell in love with the process. I mean, you said at one point your goal was to be the best walker on campus.
Yeah, weird, really weird stuff.
I mean, I personally love that. I think that's fantastic, because like, as everyone's kind of walking around going to class, like, no one's thinking about how everybody else is walking, but you're probably sitting there like looking at everybody else, thinking like, that dude's walking wrong, I'm walking better than him.
Like walking down the stairs too. It's like if you watch me walk down the stairs, do like right foot, and they'll go like one down, two down, one down. I have to like slowly go every leg just to be able to get comfortable putting pressure on it. So that was something I'd like work on for a month, like just getting comfortable just walking down the stairs without pain. So it's really weird and small stuff like that, but that's the stuff you have to get in love. You have to become like, you have to love to get to go through that stuff with a good mental drive and a good understanding of what you want to accomplish.
Yeah. And I mean, for you to learn that lesson, to learn how to love the process and to learn how to learn from that adversity, I think that's something that a lot of people can benefit from, one, and a lot of things that I need, or I can personally work on that myself. I know Mike can work on that. I know everybody else can. But I think that's for you to fall in love with the process so much that you were able to come back and play. And I mean, you made some plays in your fifth year. Like, don't get it wrong. Like, you made some plays, but I think it's just it means a lot, and it shows a lot that, you know, to your character, how much you went through and like how deep into the process you were and how like kind of married to the idea you were. Because I think that's something a lot of people kind of miss the target with.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I would say, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was saying, well, I was going to say, like, and we was talking about this off camera for all the viewers, but the fact that not only did you tear one ACL, but you tore both of them and you still didn't give up, you know, you set those small goals from a day-to-day basis and you just kept at it, and you decided in your mind and in your brain that like you are not going to let these injuries keep you from reaching your greatness, right? And I think that's something that gets overlooked sometimes. Like, now I've never torn an ACL, right? But I know it's not good. I know it's not an easy process. How long is recovery?
It's like usually like 10 to 12 months.
So it's a 10 to 12 month recovery period just to get back and unfortunately do it again. Like that's got to take a lot on your mental and on your brain. And I can't applaud you enough for just not giving up, because, you know, I mean, there's days where I get like 3 hours of sleep and I'm tapping out. I don't want to do it, but the fact that you came back from it not once but twice and didn't let it stop you and didn't let it hold you from reaching your greatness, it's honestly, it's unbelievable to me. Like, I'm just so happy and I'm just so proud that you like got to share that story with not only me but the viewers in general, because like I feel like that's something that needs to be heard. And the fact that you just did it and didn't give up and just did it again and didn't give up, it's like, man, props to you, man.
I will say one of the more humbling things, I remember I was sitting, I'm not going to name names, but I was sitting and I was doing like some extra rehab with one of the guys, and we're stretching, and he looks at me and goes, "Stern, how did you like not give up? Like, how did you just not want to just become a manager or like just like live out your college life? Like, why did you just, what's the point of coming back?" I was like, dude, it was not about like, it wasn't to do it just to come back and play, but it was for myself. Like, I knew if I would have quit on it, like I wouldn't have, I would have been like, what if the rest of my life, as opposed to, you know what, I have this thing. I want to get to it. What can I do now? Like every day, what can I do to just reach that? And to me, that was the beauty in it. Not just like being able to come back, but waking up every single day knowing I have an obstacle to hit or I have a goal to reach. And yeah, that was one of the things that when I realized, you know what, like I'm really happy I didn't quit, because you have guys that would have, and it's always like a what if, like, oh, what if you just stuck it out a couple more months, or what if you tried to come back? So that was probably one of the better feelings when somebody asked, how did you just not do it? How are you still playing? So that was really rewarding and humbling when he asked me that.
Yeah, that must have been a really empowering moment for you to hear that. Like someone else just kind of like, and I don't know who said it to you either, but
I'm not gonna name names.
Yeah, no, of course, but just to have someone say that to you, like if anything, that must just like steel your resolve just so much. Like, you know, you're just so. If anything, that just like cements your purpose of like why you're coming back and doing it.
Yeah, it added more. To me, it added more fuel to that fire that I already had. So it was pretty cool. That question was definitely like a whoa moment for me.
Oh well, the cool
whoa
thing
moment for me, man. Shoot.
The cool thing is though, it's obviously, even though it was a low, it's also probably gotten you to points where you felt your highest too.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
And kind of going off that, one thing you mentioned in your story was, you know, especially my freshman year, you try to share wisdom, you try to share guidance and help all the new incoming guys and just learn how to be a great teammate. And I think that's something that's really awesome. And I think that's something that, you found that your role shifted, and then giving back and helping us was something that you did to, help the program, help to be a great teammate. And I kind of want to lead this into one of our first questions. And it's kind of like, how did you respond to adversity in your injuries? And kind of explain that process. And, maybe if your role shifted, because you said, you weren't that same player that you were in the beginning, but you found that there was a new need for you, a new purpose.
Yeah.
So how about you explain that transition to
Yeah.
the viewers?
I was going to go one way with that answer, but you kind of totally reminded me of another answer to this is, finding another way. So like being injured, you have to find another way to be an impact on the team. And not even just being injured, but let's say you're not a superstar. What can you do to provide like a similar impact to somebody who scores all the goals would? So that was my kind of soul search for about those 3 years, from being my first injury on to pretty much my 5th year. I was like, all right, what can I do to provide the same impact, let's say that Grant Ament would, who scores 100 goals, or Mac O'Keefe would, 100 goals a year? What can I do from the sideline? Not even from the sideline, but not being that superstar. How can I create that impact? So to me, that was what I did to help combat that adversity. It was like, all right, how can I be the best teammate or the best player, best version of myself, right? At that moment. So that's what I did. That I worked as hard as I can, whether that be to be a good mentor, to not be a distraction, to be really good in the classroom, to provide that kind of guidance for any of those kids who were kind of I wouldn't say lost, but who maybe didn't know what they wanted to study, or if they had any questions about career, internship advice, whatever that would be. I just tried to be really good on those aspects, as opposed to I tried my hardest on the field. And I mean, don't get me wrong, but obviously I wasn't the best player. So my idea of battling that adversity was just trying to be the best version of myself in every aspect I had control over.
That's awesome. And I think that's something that helped me, and I'm thankful for it, because I learned a lot from you. I really learned what it meant to be a true teammate. And I'm still working on making, that's something we can always work on, being the best possible teammate. But, seeing you go through that really showed me like how humble, you can be, and, how important it is to give back to those who are new to something, or are, like you said, like don't know what they want to do yet. Because, you really helped me kind of think about, what I wanted to do. You really kind of helped me along that process of growth my freshman year, which was a steep learning curve, but
yeah, it is. And I mean, another thing too, something I learned was to be able to control the controllables. I mean, I know we're not getting the quotes yet, but that's something like that I try and live by. And I know it's like a very well-known idea, but you truly can't. I mean, you can't control injuries. So that's something that I had to come to grips with. Like, I can't control it. I worked as hard as I can, and that's what I can control: how hard I work, the effort I give, the mentality I go in with. That's something I can control, and that's something that I really learned through those adversity moments. Was just to be able to understand that I can control how hard I work. I can control how I'm treating a freshman, or how I'm treating my coach, or how I'm treating my academics. Like, that stuff I can control. That's easy. And then I would not let go, but I would come to grips with the stuff that I couldn't control. So let's say the injuries, my play time, my my impact on the field. I just couldn't control those. I worked as hard as I can, but that's something that I definitely had to come to grips with.
Definitely. And I feel it's extraordinary how it's so hard to sometimes really try and control the controllables. It's so hard to really try and buy into that saying, that quote. And I feel like you really embodied that quote through your story. Like, you really did control the controllables, regardless the first time, the second time. Not that you didn't say it happened, because it happens, but you took that it happened and you turned it into something positive, and you took that positive energy and you focus it towards your rehab. You focus it to getting back, and you focus to not letting nobody, tear you down. And I think that's just something, like I said, it's extraordinary how you did it. So for all the viewers that are watching, right, give them something as far as how you respond to adversity. Give them something that they could take away just from that first question, as far as like an overall kind of summary or a general saying that you could tell them?
Damn, tough one. Yeah, I would I would really harp on the idea of controlling with the control. I mean, I know I don't want to beat a dead horse with that, but to understand that first this happens and that it doesn't define you, and you can't let these injuries define you. Like, you're not just going to be the guy on the sideline or the girl on the sideline. You're going to be somebody who you got to show that, all right, instead of working hard in practice, now you have to take that same energy and then some and apply that to your rehab. That was something that I kind of came, like somebody mentioned that to me. It's like, all right, however hard you work in practice, that's got to be that and then some in your rehab, because that's how you're going to come back and be able to be the player. Now you're fighting an uphill battle. So you just have to understand it's pretty similar to what you do in practice. All that energy you exert into practice and studying film, now it's just transferred over to doing rehab and building that relationship with your trainer and your physical therapist. Like, you just have to just refocus that energy, not any less. A lot of kids, what they think is when they're injured, all right, now I don't have to focus as much. Now I don't have to pay attention to what I'm eating or to my studies anymore, because I could use the excuse I'm injured, right? No, you have to refocus the energy you had as if you were a starter or a player. You have to just refocus that to your rehab. So that's what I would say. I think that was a pretty cool lesson I learned.
Yeah, that kind of that brings up a memory of a mentor, what they once said to me. And what he said was, no matter what you do, no matter how hard you work, it's never wasted. Like, let's say I worked my hardest to be a starter. And let's say I never got to that point, but I put my absolute best effort forward. I learned something and I went through that experience of working hard, and I know what that is. And whether or not I can apply it to playing lacrosse or when I graduate or whatever, like off into life, and Stern, I bet you've experienced this now being a graduate, that same hard work can be applied to literally everything.
Yeah.
So no hard work, whether or not you accomplish the goal or accomplish, whatever you wanted to achieve, anything. But like, if you put your best foot forward and you put your best effort in and you work your hardest, regardless or not, if you get that goal and you achieve, you're going to have that skill of hard work kind of ingrained in you. So no matter what you do next, you'll have that drive and you'll have that, work ethic. So that's something that I've always kind of stuck with me, no matter how hard you work. And I think this, it literally just is the same thing in a different way to put it with what you just said. No matter how hard you work, it's always worth it because you're just growing that skill of working hard.
For sure. No, I mean, and what I would say is I hate to be so cliche about it, but like, at different aspects, I would like treat a test, right? Let's test as a game day. So all my energy, as if going into a game day that I would in practice, I would apply to like a test. Or like if you're doing physical therapy, like my field, quote unquote, was my training room. So every time I stepped foot in the training room, I had to have that mentality. I was like, all right, I'm going to work as hard as I can for the 2 hours that I'm in here. And know that like when you leave the training room, it's like, all right, did I do everything? Did I finish every rep that I needed to? Did I do a plank, whatever, for exactly a minute? Did I go short? Did I go long? I mean, that's the same thing that you apply to being on the field. Like, did you miss a rep? Did you not touch a line? Did you commit a foul? Like, that same stuff applies to everything in life. Like, whether I go to my computer for work now, it's like, that's my game field now. So it's just changing your perspective, the way you focus that energy just changes now.
Yeah.
Same energy, different feel. I love that.
Yeah. I got to remind myself sometimes of that.
What's up?
I still got to remind myself of that sometimes when I'm sitting at work. It's like, all right, this is a game, or this is my practice field right now. It's like,
you're a freshman, and
no, exactly. Yeah.
You're learning the ropes just like you did 5 years ago, and I did last year. So
true.
You'll get there. But moving on to our next question, something that all of us went through. COVID it came up, it happened, it's still a thing. And I still remember it ended our season. I know it ended a lot of seasons. And it was rough and it was abrupt. And I know a lot of kids in high school, they lost their sports as well as a lot of kids in college. And that in itself was another obstacle, another challenge that I know we all had to go through. You especially, I know seniors and college seniors in high school who lost that final season. But what is one thing that COVID has taught you that you want to share with the viewers?
Oh man, this is something that I actually wish I like had learned or reminded myself a couple months ago, but just to live in the moment because it could all be taken away from you like that, similar to like an injury, right? COVID happened and it took away our season, my senior year, the seniors, the fifth years, us fifth years. I know we had one who's still at the team, but the 5 fifth years, like that was our career, our college career at least. I mean, Grant and Tommy were able to go out and play professionally, but for me and Kevin, like we got our career taken away. Like it's done. Like we had no like Cinderella story ending. Like we had hopes of trying to go back to the Final Four, hopefully win it. And we had that dream, and that was something that us fifth years were like, we were like, this is why we came back to school, and it got taken away like this. And now something that I wish I had embraced a little more. And Coach always said this, and it always goes in one year. You digest it, and then sometimes it leaks out, and then you're like, all right, whatever. I still have a couple more days, or I still have 3 more years if you're Posey. And I thought I still had like 2 or 3 more months. Being like, all right, like I didn't have to like go out of my way and hang with the guys on the team because I'll be with them for the next 3 months. Like I'll sit in my room, watch TV when we were on that road trip, our spring break trip. And I was like, whatever, I'll see these guys tomorrow. I'm going to be with them for the next 3 months. And then all of a sudden it's boom, it's gone out. Now we have to leave campus. Now I definitely can't be with the guys. And now my career is over. So it was, and I hate to be so pessimistic about it. Obviously it's not all that bad. I mean, thank God everyone's healthy and thank God we're all fine. But the idea is something like that can get taken away from you. It's like, that's life though. A lot of it, like you can get fired. Things can happen and that is so out of your control. And all I would say is just to enjoy what you have now and really like squeeze as much out of it as you can. So whether that be like living with your buddies in a house. I remember we were just talking, my class, not my class I came into college with. We were just texting our group chat the other day, and we're like, God, what would you do to go back to being in the dorms? Because we were all together. That was the first and last time we were all together in one spot where I could just walk into everyone's room, say hi, say good night, say good morning, whatever. And like that was the first and last time we were all able to do that. Granted, we were all living in houses within a square mile of each other, but being in that dorm room was just one of the best years of just like building that camaraderie, seeing the guys like being so close to each other, just to be able to go to each other for anything. That was something, and it was so weird. Like because when we were in the dorms, we were like, oh, we can't wait to get houses. We can't wait to like have cars on campus. But being in the dorms is like the most purest sense of being a student in college, right? You're living all together. You're with everyone. You can just walk into each other's room. You don't have to drive. Don't have to walk outside. So it was funny. We were just talking about it. I was like, I wish I like really embraced that more. I thought I did. And then I'm like, wow, I have some regrets. Like, I wish I hung out more with the guys. I wish I stayed up later or did more, I don't know, did more things, played more video games with each other, as opposed to just sitting in my room, like watching TV when going to bed, whatever. So yeah, that's something I would say. Definitely COVID has taught me to live in the moment, to embrace what we have now, because it all could get taken away from us when we least expect it.
Definitely.
So real quick, Sturry, do you have a challenge for the people? I'm putting you on the spot here, but do you have a challenge for the people? It sounds like you have a challenge or something's brewing.
A challenge? Oh man, I mean, something I've actually started doing recently is waking up before like a work day starts, or every morning I try and get outside as much as I can. So I would, whether that be go for a run, I always walk my dog. So my new thing is waking up in the morning, walking my dog, trying to get outside, and trying to just be like active. I would just say try and stay active. That's something that, especially now that the winter's coming, it's going to be a little bit harder to do with the sun going down sooner. It's going to be cold out. But to get outside, be active, try and get around as much people as you can in a healthy, safe, socially distanced way.
You heard it from the man. Get outside, be active, see people, be safe though. I mean, COVID's spiking again, so be careful. But you heard the challenge from Stern first. We're going to put it out so you guys see it on the Instagram. And if you aren't following Instagram already, it's _accountability_call. Give us a follow, subscribe to the YouTube channel. But you heard the challenge from Stern first. We'll put it out there to remind all of you. Let us know how it goes. But Ahmad, you got something to say. Let's hear it.
Yeah. And I know this is special guest number 1, Brandon Stern. But Jack, what's something COVID has taught you, man?
Ooh. Man, I was not expecting to get the question.
Yeah.
Got to put you on the spot.
Turn the tables. I love it.
Okay. So what has COVID taught me? Two things come to mind right away. One, is there's always more to learn. I thought I knew everything. I mean, like I thought I knew everything going to freshman year. I thought like I had it all set in stone. I knew if I worked hard, I knew if I did all this, I'd be fine. I'd achieve my goals. Everything would be great. But then my freshman year didn't necessarily go the way I thought it was going to. We got sent home, as Stern said. You know, we were on our spring break trip. COVID news came in, and our season got canceled as we were on the bus coming back to school. And then I just kind of got sent home, and I was kind of stuck in my room thinking like, well, this isn't what I thought was going to happen. So I really kind of looked in the mirror and, you know, I was like, I thought I had everything figured out, and I realized I didn't, because it was just me and, you know, my family, obviously, but there was a lot of time where I was just looking at the mirror like, you know, what am I going to do next? Because like now I have like 6 months where it's just going to be me in this house. And reading this book also, if you guys can see it, Man's Search for Meaning, great book, recommended to me by a mentor. I hope you read it, by Viktor Frankl. This book and many others, reading has been something that's really kind of taught me, like, there's always more to learn and there's more to kind of go out and figure out. And if you think you know something, there's always another degree to which you can learn. And there's just more and more, and you're never an expert in anything. That's something that I've realized. I will never be an expert in anything, but I can always get better at something.
Definitely.
But the second thing I've learned is kind of the importance of family and those who are close to you and keeping those relationships strong. After being stuck at home this entire time, I really grew a lot closer to my family, and I realized how important they were and how important the people who were really close to me were. And kind of like keeping up, like Sherm was saying, go talk to people. Like, don't, like, if you're close with like a friend or you're close with a family member and you haven't talked to them in a while, like, I'll challenge you, call at least one person and just ask them how they're doing, catch up with them, because they'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it. It'll make you both feel better. And, you know, that's something that I kind of realized I was taking for granted. Like, I wasn't as close with the people I should have been super close with. So that's kind of something that I've learned that I've tried to do better at. But yeah, Ahmad, I'm headed to you, and then we'll go through our PS quotes.
Twitter.
Something that COVID has taught me. It's taught me, number one, how to invest in myself, right? From the waking up early to the stretching to the eating right. It's taught me just how to hold myself to a higher standard, right? Because, you know, you're at school, and it's not always the same kind of like super crazy drive that when you're back home, right? Sometimes it changes, right? But when I came home, it was like, okay, I'm by myself, not by myself, but I'm around individuals that are professional athletes, right? So it was a time for me to level up. And that was one thing that really happened. And then I say the other thing was, no pun intended, but literally holding myself accountable, right? And the fact that
Accountability call, let's go.
in the fact that, you know, Jack and I, we started having these calls, these FaceTime calls, you know, 7 in the morning, 8 in the morning, every day. It held me accountable to, you know, making these 3-2-1s, or just achieving my goals every day from a daily kind of checklist, right? And then lastly, I want to touch on what Jack said at the end, you know, the family piece, right? And a lot of times, you know, when my family be over, and mind you, I got like 6 or 7-year-old cousins. They all got stupid energy, right? So they're all always trying to beat me up and everything. But, you know, it took me a second to really sit back and understand that, you know, this is family, right? And, you know, you love family for family, and you just have to enjoy that time and be grateful that you have those people around you, and always, you know, tap in with your family and see, hey, what's going on? Just call somebody, like Jack said, just call somebody a day. They don't have to be your family. Just call somebody and say, what's up? Like, see how everybody's doing. So I would say those are the 3 things. Taught me how to level up, taught me how to hold myself accountable, and it taught me the importance of family. So
that's awesome. Well, Sterny, thank you so much for hopping on today. Thank you for sharing your story. It's one I look up to. I know Ahmad looks up to it as well. And I know all the viewers will look up to too. Even though we only have 34 subscribers, those 34 people will hear your story, and I hope it inspires you all, you viewers, to go out, fall in love with the process, be a great teammate, and to live in the moment. And before we head off, Brandon, I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to talk with Ahmad and I. We really appreciate it. I appreciate all the things you've done for me, like running with me in conditioning, inviting me over for tacos, and just giving me rides around campus. Those are things that, even though they're small, it meant a lot to me. But thank you again for coming out. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, guys. Thank you for having me on. I really enjoyed doing this and sharing my story, and I hope somebody can learn from it. I know it was really, it felt really nice to hear Jack say that I was able to at least leave a mark on him, because that's all I try to do. I just try to be a good mentor and just to be. I mean, Coach says it all the time, and it's true. It's true not just in lacrosse, but in the way of life. Is just to be a good teammate, and just be there for the people that you love and the people that love you. And no, I really appreciate you guys here, at least taking the time to hear my story, and I was really happy I was able to share it.
It's an awesome story, bro. It's awesome. Like I said, it's just extraordinary how dedicated and focused you stayed. And once again, I gotta applaud you for it.
Thank you.
So.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it, guys. I really do.
Of course. So episode 16, our first ever special guest, Brandon Stern. We're super excited to get this going. We're super excited to have him on. So the way we end every episode, Brandon, is we have a PS quote, which stands for a Posey shot quote. At the very end, it's like a little PS.
Wait. It's got to be PSB now.
No,
PSS. Oh, snap.
Posey shot Stern.
PSS.
So let's hit it, Brandon. Brandon, share. You're our guest. You share. What quote do you want to leave with the people?
So this is not going to be a direct quote. I'm going to paraphrase it a little bit, but you don't have to expect to be the best, but all you have to do is expect your best. And whatever you give your best, that'll be enough.
I like that. I'll hit you with mine. My PSS quote, perceived disadvantages are springboards to success. Right? So perceived disadvantage for Brandon, the perceived the idea of the ACL, not only did it make you elevate your work ethic, right, but it also made you elevate your mental and how you see things from the side of positive and negative, right? And it made you kind of change your perception of everything. So once again, perceived disadvantages are springboards to success. So
I like that one.
Rounded off, my PSS quote for the day is if you find purpose in the struggle, you will never lose. And that is an idea brought up in Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. And if you find the purpose in your struggle, if you find that reason to go through your struggle, you'll never lose. Just like Brandon, he never lost. He made a mark on me. He made a mark on Penn State men's lacrosse and everything, just because he found his purpose in his struggle. And again, I can't thank you enough for coming out here and sharing your story with us, with our viewers, and just being a mentor and someone to look up to for me. We appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Brandon. For real. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, once again, my name is Jack Posey.
I'm on, so
Brandon Stern.
And this is the Accountability Call.
Woo! Have a great day, family. We'll catch y'all in the next one.
Peace.